Welcome to the Anjarati studio at African Utility Week. We're joined now by Lloyd Long, who's the CEO of Aqua-Loc. And Lloyd, firstly, welcome. Thanks for making the time to be here. And we were talking a bit off air about this concept of water demand management and how you guys were perhaps slightly ahead of the curve on that point. Just contextualize that a little bit, what you mean by that.
Sure, no problem. Essentially, Aqua-Loc, as I said, started business about 15 years ago, manufacturing a water demand management system as opposed to a water metering system. Everybody else in the industry at the time had water meters. We had a more sort of holistic view on this very valuable resource, water. Water was easily available and infinite, as we said, and we wanted to give a product to the market that managed water. So give people enough water, but don't give them all the water. So 15 years ago, when we came up with this product and this philosophy, this holistic approach.
Everybody probably thought you were mad.
Well, they did, because we couldn't do any sales with this thing. And really, we didn't do any sales. We started off with this philosophy, trying to get this product and people to believe in this holistic approach. People were at the time just buying measuring products, just measuring water and billing from there. And they weren't too concerned whether people weren't paying for water. So really, I think ahead of our time 15 years ago, but right now, everybody realizes that this is becoming, it is a very valuable resource, and it's becoming more and more important to manage it. And this is where our product, the Aqua-Loc range of products, has become so critical.
Because I was noticing, I mean, it's my first trip to Cape Town, but I was noticing in the hotels and some of the restaurants, there's all these little notes about, you know, our water is precious, use it sparingly, so
Yes.
it must be right on the bubble. And this is a global issue, right, isn't it? It's in terms of, you know, we can't carry on consuming the way we are consuming. So what do you think are the biggest challenges in terms of changing this philosophy towards, you know, demand management, more sustainable way of thinking, rather than just billing?
Look, I really think we've got our work cut out for us here in South Africa. You know, we're quite dynamic and different to the rest of the world. In South Africa, we've got a culture here of non-payment. People don't believe that they should be paying for something that's a basic need. And water has been, and is a very basic need. And they believe that government should just be supplying it, and it should be there. We should be able to go to our taps and open it. Now, what we don't realize in the background is it costs a lot of money for government and municipalities and council to give us that water. Our water is not pure at the source. It needs to go through a purification process. There's all this reticulation system that needs to be put in place to get the water to us. And that costs huge amounts of money. We're not looking after those fresh water resources as well. So those are also, unfortunately, not in the condition that they were many, many years ago. And that's costing money. So and then you have this, like I said, this culture of non-payment from the consumers here. To try and change that mindset, as the question is that you asked, it's going to take a couple of years, I think, of introducing demand management in small and slow doses to the community, trying to get them to understand that this costs money and we need to contribute something towards it.
And I suppose you've got the other flip side of the coin as well, which is it's not just doing that piece, but as you know, this and this is a whole pet subject of mine, as this whole affluence and everything grows, the way water is consumed changes.
Yes.
You know, you go away from just maybe having a normal shower to wanting a power shower and all that other stuff. Which puts a whole different pressure
Yes.
on the water network. And where do you see all of that going? Because it's not a simple thing. There are a lot of different factors at play.
Look, really my take on that, and I'm sure there's a couple of different takes on it, is that if you can afford to pay for water, then you can use the water. We should realize that it's becoming expensive. I think by virtue of the fact that you're paying for it, you will manage it better. And I think that's that mindset that we're talking about, trying to get people to understand that. You'll find that people who are paying for the water use it more sparingly and carefully, and they manage they've got budgets. People who are not paying for it will go with a bucket to fill up from a tap, and they'll just leave the tap running because they need to now carry this bucket off to wherever they're going. So it's almost that flip side, that the people who are paying for it are managing the resource, the people who are not paying for it are not managing the resource. And that's why there's got to be some sort of consequence to the fact that they're not paying for it. There's got to be something that gets implemented. Now, I don't think we can be harsh, because you can't take people and say to them, well, you weren't paying for it before, now you must just pay the full price. And if you don't, we're just going to cut you off and you'll just never have access to water, because it is a basic...
Well, they need to live, and you kind of need it, so it's not a luxury.
Yes, no, it's more valuable than electricity is. We can do without electricity, you can't live without water. So it's implementing something in a small dose, a product with some consequence, where we say, well, we're going to give you an allocation of water in a month, and you need to now use this allocation sparingly, and it's free. Something along those lines. Or you'll pay a flat rate of what can you afford, 20 Rand, 50 Rand, no problem, and you give them some water. Now, government will now start getting to the mindsets of the people who cannot afford to pay for water, and those who don't want to pay for water, because they fall into one category in my mind. And we need to implement something there in a small dose with the long-term objective or mid-term objective of 5 to 10 years from now, that we all of us understand that we need to pay for this resource.
And there's a value.
And there's a value
into this. So in terms of you guys doing water demand management, which I would imagine you're in a great space, because it's not just a South African issue. As I said, it's a global issue, and I think smarter minds than me have done the maths, and they've actually worked out only 1% of world's water is fresh water that we can drink. The rest has got other issues with it. How are you guys solving that problem? I mean, what's so unique about the way you guys put in the infrastructure or whatever to solve this water demand management?
Look, the question, sorry?
The question is, 15 years ago, you guys said, we're going to build a water demand management system. What does that look like that's different to other stuff? And I suppose my question is twofold. And how can you guys help people with doing what you said earlier on? Is like, okay, well, here's your allocation, and then measuring that.
Look, the product started 15 years ago very basically with a mechanical device, no electronics involved. 15 years ago, like we said, there was no need for it then. But what we've done is we've integrated into our product a flow regulating device. It's mechanical, it's pressure independent, so it's not affected by what pressures are in the system. But what it does is it understands that the water we use and the water that comes out of our taps, the pressure that comes out, to wash your hands, you'd probably use 2 liters of water. Now that's not necessary. We're wasting there. You're probably wasting 1.5 plus liters to wash your hands. So what we did is we developed a flow regulating device that controls the flow of water, still giving you water. And funny enough, if you had to run 2 taps next to one another, one with a flow regulating device and one without, you would notice the difference. But if I just gave you the flow regulating device tap running, you wouldn't probably see the difference in the water that's coming out. But the difference is massive, because washing your hands, let's use that example, you would probably use 1/2 liter of water as opposed to 2 liters of water, and 600 liters an hour as opposed to 20,000 liters an hour. And And if you listen to that, 600 litres versus 20,000 litres an hour, when somebody leaves a tap running or they can't afford to fix the tap and it's broken and it's just going to pour, 20,000 litres an hour is a lot of water that's being wasted, and it's clean water that's been purified and it's cost money. So that was what we did 15 years ago to help create or make water last longer.
So who pays for all of this? Is it me in my home where I'm going, actually, I want to fit all these things? Or is it the utility? I mean, well, where's your challenge in terms of, because the equation's got to work out all the way along, isn't it? You guys want to get paid. You aren't there just, hey, let's just go fitting these things all over the place because we're lovely people.
No, look, the council really, we've got to get them to believe in our philosophy and our product. And council adopts the product and draws a mandate across the area to implement that product. So you couldn't go out yourself. I couldn't go out and say, I want in front of my house this sort of meter. But again, we've kind of accepted the fact that we're paying for the water. This is really a consequence device to people who are not paying for water. So this is where we get, now our system can accommodate either having the flow regulator in or not having the flow regulator in. And you just decide, it looks the same, what you're going to implement in which areas, affluent areas, indigent areas, rurals, and you just decide then, are you going to have the flow regulating device in or not? We've kind of moved since then to more sort of electronic devices that now give a very fixed allocation, because we still had the problem where, yes, we brought this flow down to 600 litres, as we said, but people were still leaving the taps open, and 600 litres of water an hour is still going to amount to a lot of water. So what we've done in the last couple of years is our R&D department have come up with an electronic valve that now can allocate water.
And can maybe do sense of, hey, we've been running here for 10 minutes, switch me off. Or
can do all of those sorts of things as well. So we have got now an electronic device, still with this holistic value that we have, this philosophy of managing the water carefully.
But you've got your work cut out though, because it's not just you guys. You guys have got the product, but you got to change mindsets. And I mean, it's a bit like, you know, I suppose in the UK where finally utilities were giving energy-saving light bulbs and everything just to kick-start that whole philosophy and wake people up. That hang on a minute, you know, it's the analogies are similar, and once you do the maths across a population, the numbers become huge, don't they? So. Well, you know, I wish you luck. You know, I think you guys are doing the right thing, but it must be frustrating though, because you're beholden to other people, legislation, all that sort of stuff. Is it getting there?
Lack of skills. We are getting there, and I think that mindset is changing amongst our clients as well. They're also realizing that they need to start managing the water, and only because it's becoming a huge issue for them too. For instance, in our country, the Department of Water Affairs and Forestry is starting to put pressure on these guys, saying, you need to account for all your water. Where is it going? You know, and I'll make the assumption, and it's based on quite a lot of fact that we've read, and from some of the council members themselves. But we lose anything between 30% of the water that's been pumped into the current infrastructure is being lost before it gets to the final consumer. 30, and in some areas we've even had it as high as 80%. So I mean, you're pumping an infrastructure full of water and it's never really getting to the end user. Very valuable resource, needs to be managed correctly. Changing those mindsets of our clients it has become difficult. You know, when you've been doing something the same way for the last 150 years, people are scared to make that change, to put in these products. But technology is moving, and technology can help, and it needs to be adopted.
And at the end of the day, but people need to change.
People need to change.
Technology alone ain't
Yes.
going to do it. Lloyd, it's been a fascinating interview, truly, and I wish you luck. I've got one last takeaway question. You're here at the show African Utility Week. What are some of the things you're either trying to achieve or you may have seen already on the show floor that kind of give you heart that, for your philosophy that things are moving in the right direction?
5 years ago, when I came to shows like this, there really was just metering products out there. And briefly walking through the show today, everybody is talking about water demand management in some way or another. I think there's 10% of the metering companies out there who are not. So I think it's moving in the right direction. I think we still got our work cut out for us because those developments have only really happened in the last 5 years, and you can't change people's mindsets in a 5-year period that they've been thinking like that for 150 years. But I think we're all moving in the right direction. I think us and our responsibility as companies to give the right product out there, to produce the right product, and to show the clients, our clients, that this is what they should be using is a responsibility that we need to take as well. So we're all profit-making companies, but at the end of the day, I think we all have a responsibility in trying to manage this resource better, right up to the fact that those power showers and stuff that you were talking about, I think we all need to just realize
Phase them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Just a little bit, if we can.
Well, on that note, you heard it here first. Ditch your power showers. Lloyd, thank you again for taking your the time to be here. Again, it's one of those subjects that really need to be taken seriously, not just locally here in South Africa, but globally as well. And thank you for watching. Remember, on Engerati, there are lots of white papers, case studies, and things like that from companies like Lloyd's that are in this space for you to look at the dynamics of what's happening here in this fascinating market. Thank you for watching.